We're going on a wing and a prayer.
Probably not going to be a lot of hotel space down there.
We'll sleep on the bus. We're sleeping on the bus now.
College students will find a way.
Siena's done it. They've upset Stanford.
When the Saints go marching in.
The college basketball tournament begins March 21st, and one thing fans enjoy about March Madness, the upsets. It was 35 years ago when a team from the Capital Region pulled off a big one. On March 16, 1989, the Siena men's basketball team entered the tournament as a 14 seed against heavily favored Stanford. With 3 seconds left and the game tied, Marc Brown made 2 free throws to give the Saints the lead. And the Saints would hold on for an 80-78 win against the Cardinal. The fans in Loudonville went crazy.
Hundreds of students and fans gathered at O'Flaherty's Loudon House. Their seats were in New York, but their hearts were in North Carolina. And it couldn't have been any more exciting in Greensboro. These fans, who have not seen a game live for what seems like an eternity, lived and died with each Siena possession. As Marc Brown approached the foul line with 3 seconds left, you could cut the tension with a knife. But the power of positive thinking seems to work, even when it's directed 700 miles away. These fans never had a doubt.
Did you ever really think they had a shot going into this game?
Of course, I had the utmost confidence in them. They are the best. They are number one.
I'd like to be down there. We had a great time here, though. We always have a good time. We may take off and go down tomorrow for Saturday's game. Depends on if the car holds up or not.
Siena would lose in the second round against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And during that season, Siena would also have to deal with a measles outbreak on campus and play several games without fans. Roger Weiland reports.
Nobody will forget the measles epidemic. The entire country won't forget either, as Siena played a number of games in front of absolutely no one, including the North Atlantic Conference Tournament in Hartford. And that leads us to the NAC title game between Siena and BU. With time running out here and Siena down by 1, Jeff Robinson fought through the double team, passed it over to Tommy Herter, whose shot hit the bottom of the rim, but senior Steve McCoy right there for the putback, and Siena, for the first time ever, was on its way to the field of 64 and the NCAA Tournament. Siena in the East Regional drew Stanford in the first round in Greensboro, North Carolina, and behind a brilliant 32-point performance from Marc Brown, shocked the 12th-ranked team in the country 80-78. Here's the finish in that one. With 3 seconds left, Brown was fouled on his way to the hoop by Todd Litke. The sophomore point guard hit both ends of the one-and-one, and Siena, the Saints, made headlines all across the country with a 2-point first-round win, the biggest basketball win ever in the Capital District. Then it was on to round 2, and Siena made the most incredible run of the entire season against Minnesota. Midway through the second half, the Saints reeled off 13 unanswered points in less than 100 seconds, and when Jeff Robinson pulled the trigger on this three-pointer, Siena surged in front by 1. Unfortunately, Minnesota answered back and ousted Siena by 13 points. All in all, this was without question the best season in the history of the school. And with only Monty Henderson, Steve McCoy, and Eric Fleury lost to graduation, this program under head coach Mike Dean is well ahead of schedule. Roger Waden, News 13.
Joined now by Roger Weiland. And Roger, we just saw your story. Yeah. A crazy time.
Yeah.
Talk about covering that.
It was really one of my best moments here. I mean, that put Siena basketball on the map. Nobody saw, Rachel, that coming. A 14 beating the 3. I mean, it does happen in NCAA tournament, but not often, and not with Siena. I mean, they were a mid-major program that not that many people knew about until that weekend in Greensboro, North Carolina. And then it was like, what? Loudonville, New York, Siena College, they just beat Stanford? Are you kidding me? So, you know, the brackets that everybody fills out, that was a bracket buster right there.
So do you think that we still feel the impacts of that game? People recognize Siena from that moment?
I do. And they've had a lot of great wins since then. They've been to the NCAA tournament many times since then. They've had some great coaches. Fran McCaffrey was here and had a great 4-year stretch, the best in the history of the school, and they upset Ohio State in the first round. But that win that year in 88-89 was still arguably the best win in the history of the program that got that program on the map nationally.
And it's a little bit reminiscent of what we saw recently with the COVID pandemic. There were NBA basketball games playing without crowds. There was a measles outbreak.
Measles. It was the measles year. So that's their thing. They get the big win, but it was the measles year. So I covered the team that year, and there were, I want to say, maybe 9 games that were played that year with no fans because there was an outbreak at Siena. There was an outbreak in Hartford.
Oh, geez.
And it just so happens that the conference tournament that Siena played in was in Hartford. So you go to Hartford to cover this big tournament that they ended up winning. They beat BU in the championship game by 1 point, 68-67. There's nobody there. I had to get a vaccination before I went in, and the only people that were there were the players and the coaches, and I think the Siena radio broadcaster was there because you could hear him broadcasting the whole game because there was no fans, so you heard the whole game being broadcast.
That would be spooky.
It was weird.
Yeah. Very eerie vibes to have a game that's such high level, high stakes with no energy.
Yeah,
no
they
crowd.
put a couple of cardboard cutouts of like Dick Vitale.
Just
the
like the
legendary
pandemic.
Dick Vitale. So it was like, all right, Dick Vitale, Dickie V's in the house, watching this game, when obviously he wasn't.
It's gotta be. It would have been weird. Well, Roger Weiland, we appreciate you sitting down with us for this News Vault, and must have been wild.
And I will never forget it.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts
Thank
with
you.
us. And this win was absolutely out of this world.
Go ahead, Discovery.
Yeah, we're just looking at the college basketball scores. Figure there must be a misprint on here.
Which one in particular?
One here says Stanford 78, Siena 80.
Well, as painful as it is for the Capcoms to report, that was not a misprint.
To see more of our coverage on the 1989 Saints going to the NCAA Tournament, head to our News Channel 13 YouTube page. Opening News Vault 13, I'm Rachel Teedy.